strange light in the sky is one of 1,100 UFO sightings in Canada last year.
Mexican scientists are releasing new video showing X-rays of the alleged alien remains.
Fossils millions of years older than humanity have been discovered, but they aren't from Earth.
We were supposed to see one of the most important discoveries of the 21st century.
Could this be proof that alien life existed long before we did? These mysterious remains have scientists questioning everything we thought we knew. 1. Fossilized alien found. In September 2023, Jaime Maussan, a journalist and UFO enthusiast, presented 2 mummies to Mexico's Congress. But there was one strange thing about them. They weren't human. These small, strange-looking bodies were discovered in 2017 in a mine near Peru's Nazca lines. The mummies have some odd features, like elongated skulls, lightweight bones, and 3-fingered hands. Their necks are said to retract, which adds to the mystery. Carbon dating suggested they're over 1,000 years old, and scientists involved claimed almost a third of their DNA doesn't match anything known on Earth. This led to speculation that they aren't part of human evolution. Some researchers from Peru.
The alleged alien corpses were found in Peru around 2017, so they're
even backed up the claim that there was no tampering with the remains. But they still need to do a lot more research to figure out exactly where these little creatures came from and how they ended up buried in the Earth. 2. Burgess Shale. The Burgess Shale, a fossil site in Canada's Rockies, has brought us ancient bizarre creatures dating back 508 million years. While traditionally thought to represent early animal life, some now wonder if these fossils could be proof of something more. Like aliens, the strange, alien-like forms of creatures like hallucigenia and opabinia are very different from anything seen today. Though researchers have categorized them as early members of animal groups, their unusual anatomy has led to speculation that these may be ancient experiments in life, not just from Earth, but somewhere outside our solar system. What's great is that these fossils are very well preserved, so scientists get to study them in detail. With it, they might be able to answer questions we're all too afraid to even ask. 3. Elongated skulls. The Paracas. Elongated skulls discovered in Peru's Paracas region have brought forward more questions than answers. These skulls, which date back to the Paracas culture, 300 BCE to 200 CE, are unlike anything seen in human remains. Unearthed in the 1920s by archaeologist Julio Tello, the skulls were part of the Wari Kayan necropolis. But it's their unsettlingly alien look that keeps drawing attention. DNA studies have added to the mystery, suggesting anomalies that don't fully align with typical human genetic makeup, even though there are similarities. So, could this be a human-alien hybrid that just didn't catch on? 4. Nazca mummies. In the spring of 2017, researchers launched a scientific investigation into 6 mysterious 3-fingered mummies discovered in Nazca, Peru. Among them, the largest, known as Maria, was the most popular one of them all. Early tests on her unusual hands,
The authentic hand with 3 long fingers,
compared to the rest of her body, showed no signs of tampering or forgery, so it was clear that the find was authentic. Maria was identified as female, and carbon dating placed her age at around 1,100 years. Scientists have since begun the process of analyzing the mummy's DNA, comparing it to both modern and ancient human samples. Researchers are still working to figure out where or what these beings fit into the human story, and the search for answers continues. 5. Roswell. On July 8, 1947, something crashed near Roswell, New Mexico. Initially, the U.S. military reported finding a flying disc, but that story quickly changed, with officials claiming it was just a weather balloon from a secret military project. The real story on the ground was different. Eyewitnesses claimed to have seen weird debris, and with them, extraterrestrial beings. The military's sudden shift in narrative only made it look more like a cover-up, leading many to believe that the government was hiding evidence of alien life. To this day, they're sticking to their story, and the eyewitnesses are sticking to theirs. 6. ALH 84001. On December 27, 1984, a U.S. meteorite hunting expedition in Antarctica discovered ALH 84001, a meteorite believed to have come from Mars.
This sample with analysis from the earlier Mars Viking mission.
This space rock, estimated to have crystallized 4.91 billion years ago, became all the rage because of its potential connection to past life on Mars. Ejected from the Martian surface around 16 million years ago, it landed on Earth approximately 13,000 years ago. In 1996, scientists claimed that ALH 84001 contained possible alien fossils. While the evidence was convincing, it takes years before something like this can be studied in complete detail. But from the looks of it, this has to be home to alien fossils. 7. Crystal skulls. Some believe crystal skulls have all sorts of supernatural powers or ancient wisdom. The most famous examples, like the Mitchell-Hedges skull, were said to be found in the 1920s in Central America, linked to the ancient Maya or Aztec civilizations. Despite some critics saying these have to be made by humans, believers claim these skulls hold mystical properties connected to extraterrestrials. Skeptics argue that they are clever forgeries meant to exploit interest in ancient artifacts, but even then, people fly out from all over the country to get one glimpse of this insane find. 8. 1976. The Viking Mars. Landers detect chemical signatures indicative of life. In 1976, NASA's Viking Landers, which were the first spacecraft to land on Mars, made headlines when they detected chemical signatures that were potential indicators of life.
There was always the possibility that Mars could still host some form of microbial life.
The Viking 1 and Viking 2 landers conducted a series of experiments designed to search for signs of life, including analyzing the Martian soil for organic compounds and conducting experiments to detect metabolic activity. One of the main experiments, the Viking-labeled release experiment, showed results that suggested the presence of biological activity, as it detected a gas release that could be a sign of alien life. There's been mixed data on this in recent times, but with how sure the landers were, there has to be something there. We just have to wait until the government finally announces it is for good. 9. The WOW signal. WOW signal is a radio signal detected on August 15, 1977, by astronomer Jerry R. Eman while working at the Big Ear Radio Telescope at Ohio State University. The signal lasted 72 seconds and was super intense, much stronger than expected from any known celestial sources. The signal's name comes from Eamon's reaction when he first saw the data, where he wrote "Wow" in red ink on the printout. The signal appeared to come from the direction of the Sagittarius constellation and was within the frequency range that could potentially be used for interstellar communication. Despite numerous efforts to find the signal again, it has never been detected, and its origin remains unexplained. While some have speculated it could be a message from an extraterrestrial civilization, others suggest it might have been caused by human interference or a satellite passing through the telescope's field of view, but we can all see the proof in the video. 10. Umumu Mua. All aliens didn't just perish with time, some might be trying to contact us today too. In 2017, Umumu Mua passed through our solar system, making headlines as the first known interstellar visitor. Discovered on October 19 by the Pan-STARRS 1 telescope in Hawaii, it showed several unusual characteristics. Unlike typical asteroids or comets, Umumu Mua is elongated and irregular in shape.
Led to some wild speculation that Oumuamua was actually an alien spacecraft buzzing.
Estimated to be about 800 meters long and only 80 meters wide. It traveled at a remarkable speed of roughly 315,000 kilometers per hour, on a trajectory that suggested it originated from outside our solar system and would quickly exit it. The object's brightness fluctuated significantly, which meant that it was highly possible that someone was in there, watching as humans on Earth continued to freak out. But was this just an alien ship, or was there an alien inside? It seems like the latter, but it exited the solar system before we could get an answer for that. 11. David Grou. David Grou is a former U.S. Air Force officer and intelligence official who set the record straight in all discussions about unidentified flying objects and extraterrestrial life. As a whistleblower, Grou has made headlines for his claims about secret government programs and first-hand information about UFOs. Grou has alleged that the U.S. government has clear evidence of extraterrestrial technology and has been involved in a cover-up of this information. He claimed that certain government agencies have recovered non-human crafts and biological entities, and he has said that there is a significant amount of classified data about these encounters, data he's seen and has even talked to other witnesses about. When he tried to come out and talk about everything he saw, he was silenced. He was made out to look like a liar, and with how his claims were constantly dismissed, it's clear that they're never going to let his story be proven real. 12. TicTac UFO. In November 2004, Navy pilots from the USS Princeton thought they were about to have an average day, but that's not how it all unfolded. They encountered a UFO that wouldn't leave them alone. This object, white and elongated, defied everything we know about aircrafts. It moved at incredible speeds, performing maneuvers that defied conventional understanding of physics, doing things that just didn't seem possible. The encounter was captured on radar and infrared video by the pilots' advanced systems. Even the machines couldn't understand what was going on here. Despite the evidence and the pilots' detailed reports, the incident faced significant skepticism and was largely dismissed. The Pentagon later acknowledged the encounter as part of its investigation into unidentified aerial phenomena, but the case never really got anywhere, unless it did. But they chose not to make the real information public, so the world wouldn't know the truth about aliens existing alongside us. 13. Skinwalker Ranch. Skinwalker Ranch, deep in the wilderness in Utah, is known for paranormal activity and extraterrestrial encounters. It first became super popular in the 1990s. There have been sightings of unidentified flying objects, mysterious creatures, and other unexplained events. Witnesses have reported seeing flying saucers, strange lights, and even living, breathing aliens on the grounds, hence the name Skinwalker Ranch. Governmental agencies have been heavily investigating this area for decades, but they've never actually confirmed if they've seen any aliens here. Yet, if there was no proof of them whatsoever, wouldn't they just pack up and leave the area? 14. The Allagash Abductions. In August 1976, 4 friends, Jim Weiner, Charlie Foltz, Jack Weiner, and Randy Breteen, went on a camping trip in the Allagash Wilderness Waterway in Maine. They were regular campers and thought they were in for a relaxing few days together, but they got the opposite experience. During their trip, they reported an unusual encounter involving a bright light in the sky.
That we saw the object itself was rising out of the forest,
which they claimed followed them. The men then experienced a troubling loss of time and have gaps in their memory, all at the same exact time. When they returned to their campsite, they found mysterious marks on their bodies and felt disoriented. Knowing that something strange had happened to them, they started talking about their encounter right away, but their story wasn't believed. Yet the men continued to discuss their experience publicly in the years that followed. In the 1980s, they underwent hypnotic regression therapy, which they believe helped them recover details of an alleged abduction by extraterrestrials. According to their recollections under hypnosis, they were taken aboard a craft and subjected to examinations by beings they described as non-human. This is proof by 4 separate people the world doesn't want to pay attention to. 15. Phoenix Lights. On March 13, 1997, a series of unexplained lights appeared in the sky over Phoenix, Arizona, creating one of the best-known UFO sightings in history. The event began in the evening when residents reported seeing a large V-shaped formation of lights moving silently across the sky. There were 5 to 7 lights with a central, dark shape that seemed to block out the stars behind it. As the lights moved over Phoenix, thousands of witnesses saw them, and the phenomenon was captured on video by several people. Witnesses described the lights as being very bright and moving in a coordinated manner, with some reporting a gradual slow-motion movement. In addition to the V-shaped formation, some observers also reported seeing a series of stationary lights that hovered over the city before disappearing. The U.S. military claimed that the lights were from training exercises involving flares dropped from aircraft, but no one really believes this story. With how many people saw it and filmed it, it's not easy to make people believe something else is the real truth. 16. The Rendlesham UFO Incident. The Rendlesham UFO incident took place in December 1980 near the RAF Woodbridge and RAF Bentwaiter's military bases in Suffolk, England. Over the course of a few nights, U.S. Air Force personnel stationed at these bases reported encountering an unidentified flying object in the nearby Rendlesham Forest. On the night of December 26, 1980, several military witnesses observed a triangular-shaped craft with glowing lights landing in the forest.
Through the trees, where the red light comes in and then there's an object or something explodes, and that's what they were seeing in Capel Green through the forest.
The object was described as a metallic, shining surface and emitting a series of bright lights. Some even reported seeing strange symbols on the ground where the object had landed. The following night, a second sighting was reported, but this time with a lot more witnesses, and physical evidence like radiation readings and damaged trees was reported. The U.S. military initially downplayed the incident, attributing the lights to a meteor shower or other natural phenomena. However, as more details emerged and witness accounts became public, the Rendlesham UFO incident gained significant attention and remains one of the most well-documented and intriguing UFO encounters in modern history. 17. The Kbur UFO Incident. On December 9, 1965, in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, a fireball, or bright, glowing object, was reported to have flown across the sky. Right afterward, the object was said to have crashed in a wooded area near the town. Witnesses described it as acorn-shaped or bell-shaped, covered in metallic, bronze-colored material. Military personnel quickly arrived at the scene, cordoned off the area, and removed the object. The official explanation was that it was a meteor or a piece of space debris, but at the same time, some witnesses believe the object's characteristics and the military's quick response suggest a more mysterious origin. Why would the military be this involved if there was nothing to worry about out there? 18. Las Vegas Aliens. In May 2023, a dramatic UFO sighting happened in Las Vegas, specifically in the Silverado Ranch neighborhood. The event began when residents reported a large, bright object descending from the sky and crashing into a backyard. Following the impact, they claimed to have seen 2 beings come out of the crash site. They said they had large eyes, slender bodies, and a distinctly non-human appearance. They were apparently moving around the crash site before the family rushed in, and they got scared away. The incident was captured on security and body cameras, and the footage quickly attracted media attention. Local authorities and the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department responded to the reports. Despite a thorough investigation, including a search of the crash site, no physical evidence was found to confirm the presence of extraterrestrial beings or the nature of the object. A lot of people thought, at this point, that the family was just lying to get attention. But when you really look at them, in the original video, you'll see just how terrified they look. None of this sounds like they've made it up. These just seem like this was the realest thing they've ever seen. 19. Shag Harbor. On October 4th, 1967, the small town of Shag Harbor in Nova Scotia, Canada, became the site of one of the most interesting UFO sightings in Canadian history.
Reports are still a thing. People are reporting them in greater and greater numbers every year.
That evening, several residents reported seeing a large glowing object crash into Shag Harbor. Witnesses described the object as bright and saucer-shaped, with 4 lights visible on its underside. They saw it descending and splashing into the water with a very loud splash. Right after, they saw huge bubbles and an uneven surface of water. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police and Canadian Coast Guard were alerted right away, and an official search operation was launched too. But even though they searched high and low, no wreckage or debris was found. The Canadian government initially downplayed the incident, claiming that it was a possible aircraft crash or meteorological event. But the explanation doesn't hold up with the eyewitness accounts. Something else was going on here, something the authorities don't want to talk about. 20. OHare Airport in 2006. On November 7, 2006, at Chicago's OHare International Airport, everyone saw something a lot different than your average plane. Witnesses, including airport employees and pilots, reported seeing a disc-shaped metallic object hovering in the sky above the airport. The object was dark gray and had a saucer-like shape with no visible propulsion systems. No one could tell how this was even flying. The sighting took place around 4:15 p.m. local time during daylight hours, and multiple people at various locations within the airport saw it happen. Witnesses said that the object just hovered around in one place for several minutes before suddenly shooting straight up into the sky at high speed, disappearing through the clouds. The Federal Aviation Administration initially stated that there were no reports of unusual aircraft or radar anomalies at the time, but that many people can't just be confused about the same thing at the same time. 21. Orin Airlines Flight 544. On July 3, 1998, Orin Airlines Flight 544, a passenger flight from the British island of Guernsey to the UK mainland, went through something weird. The aircraft, a Dornier 228, was making its approach to London Gatwick Airport when the crew reported seeing a strange object in their flight path. The object was described as a bright, glowing, and cigar-shaped craft. It appeared suddenly and was initially thought to be a potential collision hazard. The crew worked really hard to avoid the object, and the flight continued safely to its destination. The sighting was reported to aviation authorities, and an investigation was conducted. But this is where things get really weird. The UK's Civil Aviation Authority concluded that there was no definitive explanation for the object, and it was not identified as any known aircraft at all, so they were virtually afraid of nothing. 22. The Cache Landrum Incident. On December 29, 1980, the Cache Landrum Incident happened in Dayton, Texas, and is one of the most well-documented UFO cases in U.S. history. Betty Cache, Vicky Landrum, and her 7-year-old grandson, Colby Landrum, were driving home when they saw a large, diamond-shaped object hovering in the sky. The object was emitting intense heat and light, with 4 or 5 flames or exhausts coming from its base. The witnesses reported that the craft was surrounded by several military helicopters, which seemed to be escorting or observing it. The UFO then reportedly ascended and disappeared into the sky. Shortly after, the witnesses experienced symptoms of radiation sickness, including severe burns, nausea, and hair loss. Medical examinations confirmed the symptoms, but weren't really sure about the cause. They couldn't figure it out, The incident was investigated by the U.S. Air Force and other agencies, who initially suggested it might be related to a military exercise or experimental aircraft, but everyone knows it was much more than that. 23. 2001 New Jersey Turnpike. On January 5th, 2001, an unusual UFO sighting occurred on the New Jersey Turnpike, near the city of Elizabeth. The event was reported by several drivers who witnessed a large, glowing object in the sky. The sighting took place around 9:30 p.m., and the object was bright, orange-red, and hovering above the highway. Witnesses noted that the object appeared to be stationary for several minutes before it began to move slowly. It was initially thought to be a flare or some sort of aircraft, but the object and movement doesn't really match typical explanations. As it moved away, it reportedly made no sound, and its brightness dimmed until it vanished from view, never to be seen again. 24. The Stevenville sightings. On January 8, 2008, residents of Stevenville, Texas, kept seeing UFOs. Witnesses reported seeing a large, bright, and fast-moving object in the sky, which was described as having a rectangular or boomerang shape with multiple lights. The sightings occurred in the evening, around 6:30 p.m., and were seen by lots of people in and around Stevenville. The object was seen moving silently and at high speed, making sharp turns and changing altitude, so it wasn't an average aircraft. Some witnesses noted that the object had an intense light that lit up the entire area below, while others described a series of smaller lights or glowing patterns. Even with so much detail in the witness statements, the authorities have never been able to explain what really happened here. 25. Calvin Parker in the Gulf Coast. On September 11, 1973, Calvin Parker and his friend Charles Hickson were on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. The two men were fishing off a pier in Pascagoula when they reported seeing a strange glowing aircraft come down from the sky. The object, with a very blue, light-colored glow, was said to have hovered above the water before landing nearby. Parker and Hickson claimed that they were then abducted.
I noticed some blue hazy lights reflecting coming across from my back out across the water
by three robotic-looking beings that had very wrinkled skin and kind of a humanoid shape. The beings reportedly examined them aboard the craft before returning them to the pier. The entire encounter lasted about 20 minutes. After the event, Parker and Hickson experienced significant psychological distress and reported the incident to local authorities. The story gained national attention, and both men underwent hypnosis and polygraph tests. Turns out they never lied about any of their statements. But if we've learned anything here, it's that even if you have lots of different people witnessing the same thing, the authorities are never going to let the people see the real truth. That's for them to keep a secret, possibly forever. Do you believe any of these encounters to be real? Or could all of these just be one big coincidence, consistently repeating throughout history?